As dawn broke on June 6, 1944, the world held its breath. Allied forces, a coalition of nations united against tyranny, prepared to launch the largest amphibious invasion in history. The stakes were monumental. The outcome would determine the fate of Europe. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen, many just teenagers, gathered in silence, their hearts heavy with anticipation and fear. They understood the gravity of their mission, knowing that they were not just fighting for victory, but for the very essence of freedom. The night before, the skies above the English Channel crackled with the sound of aircraft engines. Paratroopers, clad in their gear, were briefed and loaded onto planes, their faces illuminated by the dim cabin lights. Each man carried with him the weight of his country's hopes and dreams. As they soared over the dark waters, the reality of their mission loomed large, and many silently contemplated the uncertain fate that awaited them on the beaches of Normandy. At precisely 6:30 a.m., the first wave of assault boats surged toward the shores of Normandy, cutting through the cold surf. In those moments, time seemed to stretch and contract, the roar of engines drowning out the sound of crashing waves. The soldiers, hearts pounding, braced for impact. They knew that the beaches ahead were heavily fortified, a deadly gauntlet of obstacles and enemy fire. Each man steeled himself for the chaos that lay just beyond the horizon. As the boats approached the shoreline, the air filled with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the distant sound of artillery. The first soldiers leaped into the surf, weighed down by their gear, struggling against the relentless tide. Many fell before they even reached the beach, victims of a well-prepared enemy. Yet, amid the chaos, bravery shone through as men fought against fear, driven by a fierce determination to breach the defenses and secure a foothold in occupied France. On Omaha Beach, the scene was one of horror and heroism intertwined. Waves of soldiers charged forward, facing a hail of bullets raining down from the cliffs above. The beach, littered with obstacles and barbed wire, became a battleground of desperation. Amid the chaos, medics rushed to aid the wounded, their bravery a testament to the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. Each moment was a struggle for survival, a fight not just for land, but for the future of humanity. As the morning wore on, the tide of battle ebbed and flowed. Allied forces began to establish a precarious foothold, but at a tremendous cost. The sound of gunfire mingled with cries for help, creating a haunting symphony of war. Each soldier knew that they were part of a larger story, one that would be told for generations. The courage displayed on that fateful day would echo through history, a reminder of the sacrifices made in the name of freedom and the relentless pursuit of peace. As dawn broke over the Normandy coast, the Allied forces prepared for the monumental task ahead. Thousands of soldiers, sailors, and airmen gathered, each acutely aware of the weight of history resting on their shoulders. The sky was a tapestry of gray, filled with the distant rumble of aircraft engines. Each man was armed not only with weapons, but with the hope of liberation, ready to storm the beaches and confront the formidable German defenses that awaited them. The first waves of troops landed at Omaha Beach, met by a hail of gunfire and chaos. The sound of artillery echoed through the air, mingling with the cries of the wounded. Many soldiers, just teenagers, faced unimaginable fear as they waded through the surf, struggling against the weight of their gear. The beach, a stark landscape of sand and blood, became a battleground where courage and despair collided in a brutal test of human resolve. Meanwhile, paratroopers descended from the sky, their chutes filling the air like a swarm of white doves. However, many landed far from their intended drop zones, scattered across the French countryside. Isolated and disoriented, they quickly regrouped, relying on their training and instincts. Each soldier knew that their mission was critical. They were to disrupt German communications and fortifications, paving the way for the ground forces that would follow. Their success vital to the overall strategy of the invasion. On the beaches, the struggle intensified as soldiers fought to establish a foothold against the entrenched enemy. The beachhead became a scene of desperation and valor, with medics risking their lives to save the wounded. The relentless barrage of gunfire and the roar of explosions created a cacophony that would haunt the survivors for years to come. Each inch gained was hard-won, a testament to the determination of those who refused to yield in the face of overwhelming odds. As the day wore on, the tide of battle began to shift. Allied forces, bolstered by reinforcements and strategic air support, pushed inland, capturing key positions. The bravery of individual soldiers shone through the chaos, stories of heroism emerging from the carnage. Each victory, however small, was a crucial step toward breaking the grip of Nazi Germany. The beaches, once a symbol of despair, began to transform into a pathway to freedom as the Allies fought to reclaim Europe. By the end of the day, the cost of the operation was staggering. Thousands lay dead or wounded, their sacrifices etched into the sands of history. Yet amidst the sorrow, a flicker of hope emerged. The Allies had established a foothold in Normandy, a critical juncture in the fight against tyranny. As night fell, the echoes of battle faded, replaced by a resolute determination to honor those who had fought and fallen, their legacy a beacon for future generations. As the sun rose higher on June 6, 1944, the chaos of battle intensified. Allied forces, having established a foothold on the beaches of Normandy, faced fierce resistance from entrenched German troops. The air was thick with the sounds of gunfire and the cries of the wounded. Soldiers fought not only against the enemy but also against the treacherous terrain, where every inch gained came at a steep price. The stakes were monumental and the outcome uncertain. Amidst the turmoil, stories of bravery emerged. Paratroopers, scattered across the French countryside, regrouped and pressed forward, determined to secure key objectives. Their courage was palpable as they navigated through fields and villages, engaging with German forces. Each soldier understood that their actions could alter the course of history. The mission was not just about liberation. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. By midday, the beaches were a scene of both triumph and tragedy. Allied forces began to push inland, but the cost was staggering. Casualties mounted, and the reality of war settled heavily on the shoulders of those who survived. Yet amidst the despair, the determination to advance never wavered. The Allies were not just fighting for territory, they were fighting for freedom, for the lives of millions who had suffered under tyranny. As the day wore on, the tide of battle shifted. Commanders on both sides recognized the significance of this moment. The Allies, bolstered by reinforcements and supplies, began to gain ground. The German defenses, initially formidable, started to falter under the relentless assault. The realization that this invasion could be the turning point in the war began to take hold, igniting a fierce determination among the Allied troops to secure their hard-won gains. As evening approached, the beaches of Normandy transformed from a battleground into a symbol of hope. The Allied forces, though battered and bruised, had established a crucial foothold in Europe. The sacrifices made that day would echo through history, marking the beginning of the end for Nazi occupation. Families across the ocean held their breath, praying for news of loved ones, unaware that their fates were being forged in the crucible of war on those sun-drenched shores. By nightfall, the horizon glowed with the remnants of battle. The sounds of conflict faded, replaced by a haunting silence, broken only by the whispers of the fallen. The Allies had achieved a monumental victory, but the war was far from over. D-Day was not just a date, it was a testament to courage, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of freedom. As the world held its breath, the longest day had set the stage for a new dawn in the struggle against oppression. As dawn broke over Normandy, the chaos of battle intensified. Allied forces, having secured their beachheads, faced fierce German resistance. The sound of gunfire echoed across the coastline, blending with the cries of the wounded. Soldiers pushed forward, driven by a mix of fear and determination. Each step taken was a testament to their courage, as they fought not just for territory, but for the liberation of an entire continent. The stakes were high, and the cost of failure loomed large. Amidst the turmoil, the bravery of individual soldiers shone through. Stories emerged of men who defied the odds, charging into enemy fire to save their comrades. One soldier, armed with nothing but his rifle, single-handedly took out a machine gun nest, allowing his unit to advance. These acts of valor, often overshadowed by the larger conflict, became the lifeblood of the operation. Each act of heroism fueled the resolve of those around them, igniting a collective spirit that would not be extinguished. As the day wore on, the Allies began to gain ground, but the cost was staggering. Casualties mounted, and the beach became a harrowing landscape of sacrifice. Medics worked tirelessly, tending to the injured under relentless fire. The scene was a stark reminder of the brutal reality of war. Yet amidst the despair, the determination to push forward remained unbroken. Each inch gained was a victory, a step closer to liberation, and a tribute to those who had already given everything. By midday, the tide of battle began to shift. Allied forces coordinated their efforts, launching a series of assaults that overwhelmed German defenses. Paratroopers, having landed behind enemy lines, disrupted supply routes and communication. The chaos of the battlefield transformed into a symphony of strategy and resilience. The Allies, once on the brink of defeat, now found momentum. The realization that they were part of something larger than themselves fueled their resolve as they fought for freedom and the promise of a better tomorrow. As evening approached, the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting an orange glow over the battlefield. The Allies had made significant gains, but the cost was heavy. The beaches of Normandy, once a site of despair, now echoed with the sounds of triumph and mourning. Soldiers gathered to honor their fallen comrades, reflecting on the sacrifices made that day. The weight of their loss was palpable, yet the spirit of those who fought on was unyielding, a testament to the human will to persevere. As night fell, the realization of victory began to settle in. The Allies had established a foothold in Europe, but the fight was far from over. The events of D-Day would resonate through history, a pivotal moment in the struggle against tyranny. The bravery displayed on that longest day would inspire generations to come. Each soldier, each act of courage became part of a larger narrative, a reminder that in the darkest of times, hope and resilience can prevail against the greatest odds. As the sun began to set on June 6, 1944, the beaches of Normandy bore witness to the relentless struggle that had unfolded throughout the day. Soldiers, weary yet resolute, pressed forward against the remnants of German defenses. The air was thick with the acrid scent of gunpowder and the sounds of distant explosions, a haunting reminder of the sacrifices made. Each inch gained was a testament to their courage, as they fought not just for territory, but for the very future of freedom. By late afternoon, the Allied forces had established a tenuous foothold along the coastline. The chaos of battle had transformed into a grim determination. Medics tended to the wounded, their hands steady despite the turmoil surrounding them. Amidst the carnage, acts of bravery emerged, with soldiers rescuing their comrades from the jaws of death. The camaraderie forged in the heat of battle would become a bond unbreakable, a shared experience that would resonate through the years to come. In the command centers, leaders monitored the unfolding events with a mix of hope and apprehension. Reports streamed in, detailing both victories and losses. General Eisenhower's decision to launch the invasion had been met with skepticism, yet as the day progressed, the tide began to turn. The Allies were not just holding their ground, they were pushing back against the enemy. The realization that they were on the brink of a monumental shift in the war began to take hold. As night fell, the beaches were illuminated by the flickering lights of artillery and the glow of burning vehicles. The landscape was unrecognizable, transformed into a battlefield where the echoes of valor mingled with the cries of the fallen. Yet amidst the destruction, a sense of purpose emerged. The soldiers understood that their sacrifices were paving the way for liberation, not just for Europe, but for generations to come. They were part of something greater than themselves, a turning point in history. With the darkness came a renewed resolve. Allied forces began to regroup, strategizing for the battles that lay ahead. The beaches, once a scene of despair, now represented hope and determination. Soldiers shared stories of their fallen friends, vowing to honor their memory through continued resistance. As they prepared for the challenges of the following days, an unyielding spirit emerged, one that would define the campaign and solidify the legacy of D-Day in the annals of history. In the aftermath of the longest day, the world would come to understand the significance of June 6, 1944. The sacrifices made on those blood-soaked sands would echo through time, a reminder of the cost of freedom. As the dawn of a new day broke over Normandy, it illuminated not just the remnants of battle, but the indomitable will of those who fought. D-Day was not merely a military operation. It was a testament to human courage, resilience, and the unyielding quest for liberty. As the sun dipped below the horizon on June 6, 1944, the beaches of Normandy bore witness to the culmination of a day that would forever alter the course of history. The relentless waves crashed against the blood-soaked sands, where thousands of brave souls had fought and sacrificed. The air was thick with the acrid scent of gunpowder and salt, a haunting reminder of the fierce battles that raged throughout the day, echoing the hopes and fears of those who dared to dream of liberation. In the aftermath of the landings, the Allies faced the daunting task of consolidating their hard-won gains. Commanders assessed the situation, realizing that the fight was far from over. The initial success at Omaha and Utah beaches had come at a staggering cost, yet the resolve of the troops remained unbroken. Each soldier understood that their actions on this day would lay the groundwork for the liberation of Europe, a mission that transcended individual sacrifice and united them in a common cause. As night fell, the sounds of battle gave way to a tense silence, punctuated only by the distant rumble of artillery and the cries of the wounded. Medical units worked tirelessly to tend to the injured, their efforts a testament to human resilience amidst chaos. Soldiers huddled in makeshift shelters, sharing stories of bravery and loss, forging bonds that would last a lifetime. In those quiet moments, the weight of what had transpired began to settle, a collective understanding of the significance of their struggle. The dawn of June 7th brought with it a renewed determination. Allied forces, bolstered by reinforcements, began to push inland, intent on securing a foothold in France. The liberation of Europe was now within reach, but the road ahead was fraught with peril. Each advance was met with fierce resistance from entrenched German forces, reminding the Allies that the victory they sought would demand unwavering courage and sacrifice. The battle for Normandy had only just begun, and the stakes could not have been higher. As the days unfolded, the significance of D-Day became clear. It was not merely a military operation. It was a turning point in the war, a symbol of hope for millions living under the shadow of tyranny. The sacrifices made on those beaches would resonate through generations, a reminder of the price of freedom. The stories of valor, camaraderie, and loss would be etched into the annals of history, inspiring future generations to remember the courage it took to stand against oppression. In the years that followed, the legacy of D-Day would become a cornerstone of collective memory, a tribute to those who fought bravely and fell in the name of liberty. Memorials would rise, honoring the fallen, while the lessons learned would shape military strategies and international relations for decades to come. June 6, 1944, marked not just the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany, but a reaffirmation of humanity's enduring struggle against tyranny, a testament to the indomitable spirit of freedom. As the sun dipped below the horizon on June 6, 1944, the beaches of Normandy bore witness to the aftermath of a day that would alter the course of history. The sounds of gunfire and explosions faded, replaced by the cries of the wounded and the somber realization of sacrifice. Allied forces, having fought fiercely against overwhelming odds, began to regroup, their resolve hardened by the price of freedom. The weight of their mission hung heavy in the air, a testament to courage and determination. Amidst the chaos, the true cost of D-Day became painfully clear. Thousands of soldiers lay fallen, their dreams extinguished on the sands of Omaha and Utah. Each life lost represented a story unfinished, a family forever altered. Yet, in the face of such tragedy, the spirit of camaraderie emerged. Survivors helped one another, sharing rations and tending to wounds, embodying the very essence of brotherhood forged in the crucible of battle. The day's events would be etched into their memories forever. As night fell, the Allies began to establish a foothold on the French coast. The strategic importance of this operation was not lost on the commanders overseeing the campaign. They understood that the success of D-Day was only the beginning. Supply routes had to be secured, and reinforcements were desperately needed. The men who had stormed the beaches now faced the daunting task of holding their ground against a fierce counterattack, knowing that the fate of Europe rested on their shoulders. In the days that followed, the Allies pushed inland, their determination unwavering despite the mounting casualties. The liberation of France was not just a military objective, it was a moral imperative. Each town and village liberated brought a renewed sense of hope as civilians emerged from hiding, their faces a mix of relief and disbelief. The bonds between the soldiers and the local populace strengthened as they united against a common enemy, forging a new chapter in their shared history. The legacy of D-Day would resonate far beyond the beaches of Normandy. It would serve as a rallying cry for those still under the yoke of oppression. The bravery displayed on that fateful day inspired countless others to join the fight against tyranny. Memorials would rise and stories would be told, ensuring that the sacrifices made would never be forgotten. The echoes of valor and heroism would reverberate through generations, reminding the world of the price of freedom. As the dust settled and the smoke cleared, the significance of June 6, 1944, became evident. D-Day was not merely a military operation, it was a turning point in the Second World War. The Allied forces had opened a new front, igniting a spark of hope across Europe. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but the courage displayed on that longest day would serve as a beacon, guiding the way toward victory and a future free from tyranny. As the sun began to set on June 6, 1944, the beaches of Normandy, once a battleground of chaos, slowly transformed into a somber landscape of sacrifice and valor. The echoes of gunfire faded, replaced by the haunting silence of the fallen. Allied forces, despite their heavy losses, began to regroup, their resolve hardened by the day's harrowing experiences. Each soldier carried with them not just the weight of their weapons, but the memories of comrades who would never return. In the aftermath of the landings, the strategic significance of D-Day became increasingly clear. The Allies had established a foothold in Europe, a crucial step in the liberation from Nazi occupation. Yet the cost was staggering. Thousands of lives were lost, and countless families shattered. The beaches, once a symbol of hope, now bore witness to the grim realities of war, where bravery and despair walked hand in hand amidst the remnants of battle. As night fell, the Allied commanders convened to assess the day's events. They faced a daunting task to consolidate their gains while preparing for the inevitable counterattacks. Intelligence reports trickled in, revealing the extent of German defenses and the challenges that lay ahead. The atmosphere was thick with tension, as leaders weighed their next moves, knowing that the success of the invasion hinged on their decisions in the coming hours and days. On the ground, soldiers reflected on the day's harrowing experiences. Many were haunted by the faces of fallen friends, their laughter now replaced by silence. Yet, amidst the grief, a sense of camaraderie emerged. Bonds forged in the crucible of battle strengthened their resolve. They understood that their fight was not just for their own survival, but for the freedom of millions, a mission that transcended individual sacrifice and united them in purpose. As the darkness enveloped the beaches, the sounds of the day faded into memory, replaced by the distant rumble of artillery and the whispers of the night. The Allies prepared for what was to come, knowing that the struggle for Normandy was far from over. Each soldier steeled themselves for the challenges ahead, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that they had taken the first step in a long and arduous journey toward liberation. In the early hours of June 7th, the first light of dawn revealed the stark reality of the battlefield. The beaches were littered with debris and the remnants of war, a testament to the fierce combat that had unfolded. Yet, amid the devastation, the Allied forces began to push forward, determined to hold their ground and advance. The fight for Normandy had begun, and with it, the hope for a liberated Europe flickered in the hearts of those who dared to dream. As the sun began to set on June 6, 1944, the beaches of Normandy bore witness to the relentless struggle between Allied forces and German defenders. The tide of war had shifted, but the cost was immeasurable. Soldiers, weary and bloodied, pressed on through the chaos, driven by the hope of liberation and the haunting memories of fallen comrades. Each inch gained on the beach was a testament to their courage, a small victory in a day that would forever alter the course of history. In the aftermath of the landings, the Allies faced the daunting task of consolidating their gains. The beachheads were secured, but the enemy was far from defeated. German forces regrouped, determined to reclaim lost ground. The sounds of gunfire and explosions echoed across the landscape as both sides fought fiercely for control. Amidst the chaos, medics rushed to tend to the wounded, embodying the spirit of resilience that defined this pivotal moment in the Second World War. As night fell, the beaches transformed into a grim tableau of heroism and sacrifice. Soldiers shared stories of bravery and loss, forging bonds that would last a lifetime. The camaraderie among the troops provided a flicker of hope amid the darkness. They knew that their actions on this day would resonate through the ages, a testament to the human spirit's capacity for courage in the face of unimaginable adversity. The dawn of a new era was on the horizon, but the fight was far from over. The strategic significance of D-Day became increasingly clear as Allied commanders assessed the day's events. The successful landings marked the beginning of a relentless push into occupied Europe. Yet the price of victory weighed heavily on their hearts. Lives lost, families shattered, and futures uncertain. Each decision made in the command tents carried the weight of those sacrifices. The Allies were united in purpose, but the road ahead was fraught with peril and uncertainty, demanding unwavering resolve and strategic brilliance. In the days that followed, the Allies began to establish a foothold in Normandy, but the battle was far from over. Supply lines were stretched thin, and the threat of German counterattacks loomed large. The determination of the troops on the ground was matched only by the resolve of those in command. Every inch of territory gained was hard fought, a reminder of the sacrifices made on that fateful day. The world watched with bated breath as the tide of war began to turn. D-Day would be remembered not just for its military significance, but for the indomitable spirit of those who fought. The stories of valor and sacrifice would echo through generations, serving as a reminder of the cost of freedom. As the Allies continued their advance, the legacy of June 6, 1944, became a symbol of hope and resilience. The long day had ended, but the mission to liberate Europe was just beginning, fueled by the collective will of those who dared to dream of a better world. As the sun began to set on June 6, 1944, the beaches of Normandy bore witness to the sacrifices made by thousands. The echoes of gunfire and the cries of the wounded still lingered in the air, a haunting reminder of the day's brutal reality. Soldiers, both victorious and fallen, became part of a larger narrative, one that would shape the course of history. The tide of war had turned, but the cost was immeasurable. In the aftermath of D-Day, the Allies faced the daunting task of consolidating their hard-won gains. The beaches, once a battleground, became a staging ground for the next phase of the campaign. Supplies poured in, and reinforcements arrived, but the toll on morale was palpable. Each soldier carried the weight of their fallen comrades, their bravery etched into the very sand they fought upon. The fight for liberation was far from over. As night fell, the beaches transformed into makeshift hospitals, where medics worked tirelessly under the flickering glow of lanterns. The wounded, some barely clinging to life, were treated with urgency and compassion. Amidst the chaos, stories of heroism emerged, highlighting the indomitable spirit of those who fought. Each life saved was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a flicker of hope in a day marked by despair. The strategic importance of D-Day became increasingly clear as Allied commanders assessed the battlefield. The successful landings provided a crucial foothold in Europe, enabling further advances into occupied territories. Yet the challenges ahead loomed large. German forces, though initially caught off guard, regrouped and prepared to counterattack. The Allies understood that the fight for freedom was only just beginning, and the resolve to push forward was stronger than ever. As the first light of dawn broke on June 7th, the reality of the previous day settled in. The beaches, once vibrant with the chaos of battle, now lay silent, save for the sounds of recovery and mourning. Soldiers reflected on their experiences, the camaraderie forged in the crucible of conflict. Bonds were created that would last a lifetime, uniting them in a shared mission to reclaim freedom for those oppressed by tyranny. D-Day was not merely a military operation. It was a pivotal moment in history that reshaped the world. The bravery displayed on that fateful day would echo through generations, serving as a reminder of the sacrifices made for liberty. As the Allies prepared for the arduous journey ahead, the legacy of June 6, 1944, became a beacon of hope, illuminating the path toward a future free from oppression and tyranny.